So let's continue with our piano coaching from last week. Now you know the chords we're using. They're F7, B flat 7, and C7. As you see them on the screen here, keep in mind that what's notated is the simplest voicing. A voicing, of course, refers to the arrangement of the chord tones. If I play the F7 that's now pictured on screen, that's a close voicing. All the notes are adjacent. There's an open voicing. It's a lot different sound. There's any number of voicings you could make to a given chord. You saw the three-handed piano playing video, right? If you didn't catch it and you find yourself lost, then go up there and grab that one first. Also, recall the blues scale that I gave you in that video. It's this: F, A flat, B flat, B natural, C, E flat. That's only part of the picture when you're playing over changes. When you're soloing over the changes in a blues situation, those blues scale notes will generally work out pretty well for all the chords. They'll get you pretty far. You'll find a couple of things that don't work for sure, but generally they'll all work pretty well if you don't land on something that's incompatible and then just insist on it. You can pass through on any of the three chords with this scale and it doesn't sound random or wrong. Now I'm going to talk a bit about how you can incorporate some other notes as well as why you'd want to. So let's look at the thirds and sevenths. Again, if you saw the videos from the last few weeks, then you're aware that the tones that are the stable tones in a chord, let's say this F7, are the root and the fifth. And the active tones are the third and seventh. Now the active tones give a chord its character. Is it minor? Is it major? Is it bluesy? Is it pretty? Often, the fifth is omitted in many voicings because it doesn't add that much. Now, I showed you the way that voice leading works in those active tones in terms of how we build the answer chords for accompaniment. But let's look at them a little more closely. You remember that I showed you that we have this portion of the chord that has the third and the seventh in it, and it's an answer chord. And it's so called because here's the call and here's the answer in a stride texture. For example, for this F7 chord, I've constructed this dyad, which is an A or the third of F on the bottom and an E flat or the seventh of F on the top. For the B flat chord, I have this very close by half step apart one that is the seventh on the bottom, flat seventh on the bottom, and the third on the top. Flat seven, third, but they're just a half step apart. Now here's a part I didn't say. The flat seventh of F, E flat, has a natural tendency to resolve downward to the third of the B flat chord. You can hear this if I play this progression but move every tone in the chord but the E flat. Did you hear that? It's a magnetic attraction. It wants to go here when it goes down to D. Now, I actually love this topic and I love to go into the weeds on this, but I also want to keep moving. So if you have anything that you'd like to ask in the comments, feel free. So now let me play an improvisation with only the notes of the F blues scale, but not any chords, without any chords. Now, if there was any point where you couldn't tell me where I was in the form, I don't blame you. It sounds kind of random. And even though it works, you'll only be able to follow it if I add the chords. right? right? Now you know where I am. Now, if I insert a pattern that makes use of the natural tendencies I just described, for example, the seventh of the first chord resolving to the third of the next, you'll be able to hear the chord change in just the melodic line without needing to hear the chords under that solo line. Did you hear that? And that's... For this week, we're going to focus on that for 5 minutes a day. For now, just do 5 minutes, which is the minimum viable amount, I would say. We're trying to develop a habit here. Now, on your screen, you'll see the chords for that same 12-bar phrase that we've been looking at for a few weeks. This is kind of just chords and slashes here, and it's enclosed in repeat bars. So it's a form that goes over and over again. Now, we're going to do this exercise with that form, and it will be in 3 steps. Step 1, pick a chord tone on the first chord and then move that tone to the closest tone on the next chord and then continue. Also, remember, sometimes it's the same note. For these, I'm going to give you the notes for the 3 chords. This will give you a total of 4 things to practice, and those things are going to be lanes, like in driving. 4 different lanes. Okay, so for the chords, 1 bar of F7, 1 bar of B flat 7, 2 bars of F7, 2 bars of B flat 7, 2 bars of F7, 1 bar of C7, 1 bar of B flat 7, 1 bar of F7, 1 bar of C7, then you're back to the beginning. So that is the form. Now, I'm going to show this to you. What's going to happen is that when I change chords, the note that we picked, it might even be the same note. And as a matter of fact, it is in the first one, but it's going to be a different member of the chord. So in the first chord, which is an F, your melody note is the root of that chord. In the second, which is a B flat, your melody note is the 5th of that. And then the other chord is a C chord, and that's going to be, that note is going to be G. Those are the 3 things you need to know. So if I go on this first lane, that's going to be like F, which is the root, the 5th of B flat, and then the root of F, the 5th of B flat, the root of F, and then this is the 5th of C, the 5th of B flat, and the root of F, right? That's how it's going to work. Now in the next lane, in lane number 2, the A is the 3rd of F. So we started with the root of F, now we're going to the 3rd of F. So that's the 3rd of F. And then in B flat, this adjacent A flat is the 7th of that. And then the only other chord is on the C chord, where the 7th, the B flat is the note we're going to use there. It's the flat 7th of the C. And notice they're all right in here, like that. So F with the 3rd on top, B flat with the flat 7th on top, F with the 3rd on top, B flat with the flat 7 on top, F with the 3rd on top, C with the flat 7 on top, B flat with the flat 7 on top, F with the 3rd on top. That is the second lane. So the third lane, it's going to start on the 5th of F, and it's actually just 2 notes for the whole thing. So it's the 5th of F, which is a C, then B flat is going to be the root of B flat, and then the 5th of F, root of B flat, 5th of F, and then the root of C, the root of B flat, and the 5th of F. 4th lane, 4th and final lane. E flat is the flat 7 of F. D is the 3rd of B flat. E flat, flat 7 of F. 3rd of B flat, E flat. E natural is the 3rd of C. D is the 3rd of B flat. E flat, flat 7 of F. E natural is the 3rd of C. So you see these are all adjacent. The first one is like that, just those 2. The second one is like the third is this, and the last one is like that. So they're all very close when you're in one lane. Notice that the third and the seventh are by far the most interesting and rich sounding paths to take, but they're all important to practice. Step 2, we need to keep ourselves entertained. Let's face it. If you go back and look at the last video where I talk about corroboration and making a solo, you're going to start with a motive, right? Now, the next motive is going to be like that, but it's going to have extra stuff. The second motive corroborates the first one. That's what we're going to use with this. Like if we start in lane 1, right? So use some rhythm. And finally, step 3 is to make lane changes. So right now, just to demonstrate, let's make a lane change between lane 1 and lane 2. Remember, lane 1 started on the root of F7. So that would be like... Then lane 2. Back to lane 1. Last thing I'm going to mention is that if you have other repertoire that you're focused on, then you can bring this practice into that repertoire. Now, I teach this with the blues because it's really great for this. It's so chromatic, and also it's pretty accessible, just has a few chords. And the vocabulary is common to a lot of music. If you're playing rock or jazz or country, metal, pop, it all has some level of blues influence. Now, for example, let's take this chord progression. Right, you probably recognize that song. So it starts on F minor. So if I were to start, say, in the second lane, like that. If I were to start in the third lane, so you could do the same thing with that song as you did with the blues. Now, you probably noticed that A natural and D natural are not in the blues scale, right? It's very interesting. You're thinking, what's up with that? Well, next time we'll talk about it. For now, hop on up here, look at some of the previous videos so that you can bring yourself up to speed, and I will see you back with that video next week.